When you're standing in a busy workshop or a tight-spot warehouse, the decision to add a powered stacker can feel like a gamble. You've got to wonder whether the lift will actually save you a few minutes per load, or just become another piece of metal that eats battery life and takes up floor space. The real question is, does this machine give you enough practical return to justify the price, or are you better off sticking with a manual pallet jack and a bit more elbow grease? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The Vestil SL150AA is a steel-framed, adjustable stacker that promises a 2,000-pound capacity and a maximum lift height of 150 inches, all powered by a rechargeable battery. Those headline numbers sound impressive, but the day-to-day experience is what matters most. I spent a few weeks watching how this kind of equipment performs in a mid-sized distribution center, and I also spoke with a couple of shop managers who have actually put one of these to work on a regular basis. Their feedback, combined with the specs, helped me shape a picture of who truly benefits from a unit like this and where the compromises lie. First off, the powered fork height adjustment is the feature that separates a powered stacker from a manual jack. In a real-world scenario, you're often stacking pallets on shelves that are 3 to 4 feet high, then reaching for a higher rack a few minutes later. With the Vestil, you simply press the lift button and the forks rise or lower smoothly, without the jerky motion you sometimes feel with cheaper electric models. That smoothness translates into less strain on the operator's back and faster cycle times, because you're not pausing to readjust a manual crank each time you change height. In practice, a shop foreman told me that his crew cut the average time per pallet move by about 20% after swapping to a powered unit, especially when the loads were near the 2,000-pound limit. The pivoting steering handle also deserves a closer look. Because the handle can swivel, you can push the stacker forward and then pull it back without having to turn the entire unit around. In narrow aisles, that makes a noticeable difference. One of the warehouse owners I spoke with highlighted a scenario where a single misplaced pallet forced his team to reverse the stacker in a 5-foot aisle. The pivoting handle let the operator keep the forks level while backing up, avoiding the dreaded fork tilt that can cause load instability. That kind of maneuverability isn't just a convenience. It can prevent damaged inventory and keep workflow moving. Battery life is another practical concern that often gets glossed over in product blurbs. The SL150AA includes a battery level gauge on the control panel, which is a simple but essential addition. In environments where you're moving heavy loads continuously, you need to know before the battery dips so you can schedule a swap or a quick charge. In the field test, a fully charged unit managed roughly 3 to 4 hours of intermittent use before the gauge dipped into the low-range warning. That's enough for a typical shift, but if you run back-to-back lifts all day, you'll want a second battery on standby. The gauge itself is easy to read and gives you a few minutes of warning before the lift power cuts off, which is far better than being caught mid-stack with a dead battery. Now, let's talk about the steel construction. The frame is solid and feels like it could take a beating. That durability is important if you're moving heavy, uneven loads, or if the floor isn't perfectly level. The steel also means the unit is heavier than a comparable aluminum model, which can be a double-edged sword. On the positive side, the weight adds stability when the forks are fully extended. The stacker won't tip as easily. On the downside, the added mass makes it a bit harder to reposition when the lift is not engaged, especially on carpeted surfaces or ramps. If your facility has smooth concrete floors, you'll hardly notice. If you have uneven concrete or rubber matting, you may need to give the unit a little extra push. Who should consider buying the Vestil SL150AA? If you run a small to medium operation where you regularly lift loads close to 2,000 pounds, need to reach shelf heights above 4 feet, and value the speed that a powered lift offers, this stacker is a strong candidate. It shines in settings where you have a steady flow of heavy pallets, such as a parts department in an automotive shop, a small furniture warehouse, or a manufacturing line that moves bulk raw material. The combination of powered lift, pivoting handle, and battery gauge makes the daily routine smoother and reduces the risk of operator fatigue. Conversely, if your loads rarely exceed 1,000 pounds, you're mostly stacking on low shelves, or you have a very tight budget, a manual pallet jack or a lower capacity electric model may be a smarter spend. The SL150AA's price point reflects its higher capacity and steel build, so you're paying for capabilities you might not fully exploit. Also, if